For today's presentation, we're continuing with the lessons in Master Kuo Lien Ying's original Guang Ping Taiji form. And today's move that we will be learning will be Wind Blowing Lotus Leaf. And then right after that, it goes right into finger block up with fist. So it'll be two moves. Um, in the last video, when we did the kick and then the turnaround, we got into the first position of Wind Blowing Lotus Leaf. So we're going to continue into the actual movement. And I like thinking of that name, Wind Blowing Lotus Leaf, like a leaf fluttering in the wind going back and forth. And in the same respect, this movement is kind of goes on the diagonal line. And when we ended up, I kind of explained to you in the direction that it's going to be in a slight diagonal, and then the move is kind of zigzag on that diagonal line, as you'll see. But as in the other presentations, we'll start with a quick review of where we are up to this point. Again, going just from the end of the repeat section into from fan through arm and into this next third section. And as I stated in other videos, you can just practice one section at a time. So you don't have to like start from the very beginning of the form and always do from the form all the way to where you are. It's good to kind of break it up so that you can kind of work on specific aspects of a form, especially sometimes when you have a difficulty with one movement, you're just kind of learning one move. It's good just to actually just do a short section rather than trying to do the whole form over and over and over, because then it gives you more time to work on what you need to do. So we'll start this lesson from fan through arm. Again, as in the last presentations, in fan through arm, my back will be towards you, but I'll present it so that you can see the orientation of the moves again. So in fan through arm, you're working from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock from here. And then for green dragon dropping water, you're going to pivot and go into a diagonal. So you'll be more like around 7 o'clock. Reach forward, pull back, step forward. And then for single whip, you'll be from 9 o'clock facing 3 o'clock. Wave hand like clouds. Back into single whip. And you'll still be on the 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock line. Come back, high pat on horse, facing 3 o'clock. Step forward. Now you're going to separation. The right foot will go at 6 o'clock. The separation of the left foot will be at 12 o'clock. And then you're going to turn and you'll be on a slight diagonal. So I said it'd be more like about 8 o'clock. And remember, have the 90 degrees on this arm movement. And then step into the first position of wind blowing lotus leaf. So from here in wind blowing lotus leaf, you're working on a slight diagonal line. Now, if I was too close to the fence, I can change it to basically 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock line. But since I want to have a slight diagonal, I'm just going to do 3 moves. So the first move will be sweeping over the knee, then the change, and then stepping out, sweeping over the knee, then the change, and then stepping out. So we'll go over the details of the move from here. And then it ends with finger block with fist here. They're 2 separate moves, but usually they're done together. So again, a little bit faster on the review. So Fan through arm, green dragon dropping water. Pull back, single whip. Come back, wave hand like clouds. Again, I'm just doing a few to keep within the short space here. High pat on horse. Step up. Separation of the right foot. Separation of the left foot. Spin. Turn around. Kick with soul. And then step into wind blowing lotus leaf. And then finger block with fist. So for more detail, I'm going to do it on facing the camera so we can learn the move. I'm going to draw a line. And so this line, hard to draw a straight line in the dirt, will represent the diagonal line that I would be on. So in the case of the actual form, the diagonal line kind of looks more like that. So after, so it'd be like high pat on horse would be actually like that. And then after you do the separation of right foot, separation of left foot, and then turn, you'll be kind of across the line. Again, like here. Now, in the last lesson, after separation, kick, turn around, kick with Hugh, I had you come down and just end in this position. And the reason why I had you do that is I didn't want to go right into the wind blowing lotus leaf. So I just had you kind of in this neutral position here. And as you see, as we learn, that neutral position will be fairly important. In the turnaround kick with soul, you actually would be kicking on this line and then stepping off into that slight diagonal, okay? And again, that line, that straight line will be either 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock or on a slight diagonal here. After you're in this neutral position is when you would do the waist turn. And again, it's not just a hand movement. Turning with the whole waist is where the power comes from. There's a video that I did earlier for advanced practitioners who already know the form called 3 Moves in Guang Ping Taiji, and explain how the 3 moves, diagonal whip, and then slow palm slanting flying, and wind blowing lotus leaf were 3 variations of sweeping over the knee. Diagonal whip is horizontal over the knee, and then slanting slow palm slanting flying is uprooting over the knee, and wind blowing lotus leaf is sinking over the knee. So that kind of explains a little bit more about the function of the move. But here, since we're kind of having lessons to teach beginners just the basic form, that's kind of an idea in your head that you want to always keep. And in developing the understanding of your form, your dalu, the fixed form, having understanding of the function helps you to kind of assess how you do the movements. So again, going back to where I had you in the center for the last lesson, that's because I wanted to teach and emphasize turning from this waist. And one of the mistakes that I often see practitioners doing is that as you're turning from the waist, this right knee bends in like this, which kind of like weakens your horse. The horse should be stable and should turn from a deep root into the waist like that. Also, if you tend to develop a practice of trying to make wind blowing lotus leaf look too smooth without falling into that root at the end, then you're going to actually train yourself to lose that deep root and stability, which you need for sweeping somebody out over your knee. So it's very important. I'm going to break this up into three kind of sections of the movement for you to help remember these basic Kung Fu principles. Turn from the waist until your hand gets past the knee. That's the critical. Nothing should change. No pivoting and no dropping the knee. That's what I want to emphasize in teaching this movement. From once you get to here, past the knee, and you've already like tried to sweep the opponent, completed the movement, now you can pivot. So you get into the change. And the way I'm going to teach it is you're going to teach you that in the beginning, it's just going to be okay to step together so you can change the hand movements. And eventually what you want to do is basically do the sweep and then the pivot and hand change and then the step right away. But in order to kind of remember everything, I'm going to break it down even more. So there's going to be kind of an intermediate step, which then later on, as you get more advanced, you can remove. So from here, from the basic stance that we ended up in, wind blowing lotus leaf, sweep, turn from the waist, relax the waist, turn. This is your power. Once you get past the knee, now you're going to pivot the foot just so enough. So when you do the next movement, your horse will be in the T stance, L stance, and it'd be a diagonal across that line. You'll see. From here, after you do the pivot, first you do the sweep, pivot, and then the hand change. And again, we're going to work on the hand change separately. So I'm just demonstrating the movement. From here, you're going to step out into the horse. Again, you see that my feet are basically in a TL stance. And then I turn from the waist again for the right side. And once my hand gets past the knee, then I'll shift this foot a little bit, come in for the change, and then step out again into this here. So I do a little bit faster. So from this ending position from the last lesson, turn from the waist. Once you get past the knee, turn the foot a little bit. And the reason why you're turning the foot, so you get more of a TL stance as you go into the next step. And again, that happens after you complete the sweep. Pivot, change the hands, come in through the center, step out on a horse, turn from the waist, past the knee, pivot, change the hands, intermediate step, step across, turn from the waist, get past the knee, pivot, come in, step, turn from the waist, past the knee, pivot, change, and then come back. You're always going to end up on the left side because the left side is where you're going to do the finger block and punch here. Okay, so let's take it from the kick, turn around, kick with sole, so you come back, and then kick with the sole, come into the horse. Turn from the waist, And what I advise is that you actually kind of root in that idea that you want to be in that stable horse for the sweep. So do a slight pause and then go ahead and do your transfer turn. Here, feel that root, turn, come in, root, turn, come in. Well, we talked a little bit about Fa Jin, how to whenever you're doing your movement, kind of finish and feel that moment where you can have that explosive power before going into the next movement. Again, many people try to make their Tai Chi look smoother by kind of glossing over those moments where you actually need to kind of pause for a moment and understand that that's where the power is. And so by kind of glossing over those movements and then kind of going right into the next step, trying to make it look smoother, you're actually losing a lot of your comprehension of those moments where you need to have that root into the next move. And so again, mm, I like to emphasize having little pauses so that you can kind of like drill in that idea. And so again, in this movement here, this is the most important part. Then the transition, then the important part, the sweep and the root, and then the transition, and then here. At first it's kind of blocky because you're kind of stopping and then starting, stopping and starting. But then even when you want to make it smooth, that already be drilled in there. So then you'd be moving at the right time by having just do those momentary stopping and kind of understanding and drilling into your mind. That's the important part. Again, like in brush knee twist step, I emphasize feeling the balance so that you have give and take at that point rather than just kind of going right into that kind of backwards movement, trying to make it look smooth. So these are kind of samples of how, well, breaking down your practice into specific points really actually makes your Kung Fu, your Tai Chi better because you're drilling in those important points of the root and the power. So again, from turn around, kick with soul, just that little bit of coming in with a foot after the kick before you step down into the horse is an important aspect as well. Remember, because if you just step down into a horse, that's the perfect moment for your opponent to sweep you. So understanding basic Kung Fu principles and then applying them to your Tai Chi or your Kung Fu, whatever you're practicing, is very, very important. So again, after round, turn around, kick with soul, come in. That's where you step into the horse and you're getting ready in this position that I ended at last time for that half sweep. Because you're not, instead of doing like a full sweep from back here, after the turn around kick with soul, you're kind of already in sweeping position. You're just kind of doing the turn of the waist here. So in the transition with the arms, let's practice just like in the last lesson, or with wave hand like clouds, where you had to do just the arm movement so that you could concentrate on actual arm movement. In Wind Blowing Lotus Leaf, you'll be going from here, and then this hand comes down, and then here, down, and then the sweep. So you can kind of get in a horse stance and practice just that movement. And then here. So the way you can do it is you can kind of come all the way down to about waist level, and then the sweep. Come down to waist level. So this is the sweeping hand. The blocking hand, or the pulling hand, or whatever you're using it for, doesn't come too far around, so it's not like big movement with the hand, other arm coming up, the other blocking arm, but it's more like a half movement. Like that. So after round, turn around, kick with soul here. So if you watch this left hand arm, left hand coming up, it's going to look like that. And this one is going to be the blocking. This is the sweeping. So it's not a big movement like that. So turn around, kick with soul, step into the horse. Pivot from the waist. Don't drop the knee. That's an important point. Get past the knee, then pivot, step together. Again, in the beginning, okay to come in and step so that you can get your preparation. At this point, look at where my hands are. So I've like, from here, as I step together, I come to the neutral position. So as I step into the diagonal horse, now I'm ready to do my turn. If I move too much, then I step in a horse, I won't have that motion to turn because it's already be expended out by the time I step into the horse. So I want to be from here into this transition in this position over here. So I step in the horse, I have more power in the waist turn. So the timing of how you do your arms and your legs and your stepping out is very, very important. So again, if you break it up so that you have these 3 steps that help root in the timing of how you need to do the movement. Many times I watch practitioners doing this move and their timing is just kind of smooth, but they're missing a lot of the points of where you should have the transition, the power base, and the root. Okay. So again, teaching it the kick, kind of the intermediate position after the kick in this case, because you're not going to be doing full, because after you kick, you kind of already coming into the horse stance, and then you're kind of coming down. So the first full wind blowing lotus leaf will be here, transition, and then the waist turn. Pivot, come to step together, step out into horse, then the full waist turn. After you get that timing down, then you'll be able to flow from the one side into kind of the intermediate, but you just won't have to step together. So it'll look like this after turn around, kick with soul here. And as soon as you come past here, step. As soon as you get past the root and the base, step. Like that. So the stepping together is only just going to be for the learning stage, and make you understand that's kind of like the neutral part of the move going into the sweep and the step. So after you finish, okay, so I'll do 3. So after turn around, kick with sole here, then the step right side, sweep. So as soon as you do this out to right about the knee, you don't need to do the full turn, just to the knee, and go right into finger block and punch. So from the sweep, the hand comes up, blocking for like a roundhouse punch or something like that. And from here, this blocking hand here goes into the diagonal punch. So it's going to look like here. So in that last one, from here, you can just almost go right into it. Or you can go from here and then punch like that. Okay, so that'll be today's lesson. Wind Blowing Lotus Leaf. Again, here's a link to going to the one of the 3 movements in Guang Ping Taiji that describes the functional aspects of wind blowing lotus leaf compared to diagonal whip and slow palm slanting flying as a essential sweep over the knee. Okay, thank you.